Welcome, everyone, to our second episode of LinkedIn Live Fireside Chat. I'm your host, Mahesh Iyer, founder of RCG, Fractional CRO, and host of popular podcast, Mr. Iyer's Digital Dialogue, where this webinar will be posted live after the session. Today, we are diving deep into transformative power of AI in marketing and sales. I'm joined by two extraordinary thought leaders who are helping companies navigate the rapidly evolving digital landscape. We have Shashwat Gosh, a seasoned fractional CMO with extensive experience in B2B GTM strategy, and Hari, a technology expert and a fractional CTO who's leading the charge in bringing innovative tech solutions to market challenges. In this session, we will unpack how AI can truly revolutionize the way we approach marketing and sales, from dynamic websites that speaking directly to individual customer profiles to AI-powered CRM enrichment that supercharged ABM and even creative uses of AI to build more meaningful customer journey. We will also take some practical steps, use cases, and real-life examples. So welcome to the Fireside Chat, Shashwat and Hari. Maybe you guys can introduce yourself.
Thanks for having us, Mahesh. I started, so I'll go. My name is Hari. Spent considerable time in health tech and health tech domain for about 16 years before I embarked on my entrepreneurial journey. We have a SaaS-based platform that's our product offering, and also I run Studio Navkar. I do product management, consulting, and coaching, along with focusing on helping startups build sustainable and scalable businesses. Shashwat?
Thanks, Hari. Thanks, Mahesh. Pleasure to be here. This is an awesome platform to share the views, especially for guys who are into fractional and especially if they are thinking about fractional CRO, fractional CMO, and fractional CTO. My name is Shashwat. I have been doing fractional work for the last 8 years. I have close to 26 years of work experience. I have been only in B2B marketing and leading the GTM teams. And I have started Helix Consulting, which is primarily focusing on AI-based startups and SaaS-based startups, along with a couple of mid-sized ITES companies. And the whole idea is that how do you scale? How do you go from 0 to 10, 10 to 100? That's my specialty. And in that, I have my own framework for GTM. That's what I do. So over to you, Mahesh.
Okay, thank you very much. Thanks, Hari. Thanks, Shashwat. These days, it's all about the buzzword, right? That's why we are doing this fireside chat. We thought, why not use the buzzword AI and what AI does. People are talking everything wherever I go, whichever event I go these days. Even if I'm a judge for a pitch from a startup, 90% of the pitch are coming from an AI company. Either they are in different aspect, but mostly into sales and marketing is what I see. Now, everybody comes and tells me, most of the founders, they come and tell me that, Mahesh, I have a product. Now I want to build a sales and marketing. People are talking about me buying some tools, AI tools, which can enable my sales and marketing team. Now, I want to ask both you gentlemen this. First is, what is the problem that AI is trying to solve in marketing and sales? First, let's try and understand that. Then maybe we can go deep dive and try and see how it actually goes ahead and helps in solving the business problem.
I think Shashwat should start this because he's from that domain.
Sure. So, when you're thinking about AI, I think you should take a step back. And there's one big elephant in the room, which is that will AI take up your job, right? So that's the first thing that you need to address within the organization and figure out that answer. That's very important. The second thing that you need to do is, why do you need AI? What is the problem that you are facing, which you think AI will solve, right? So it's not about taking some point solution at any point of time. If you actually see, most of the companies have about 30, 40, 50 different tools in marketing, each of them doing some individual stuff. But as a CMO, are you getting the results? Are you able to measure where your brand is going? Are you able to add value to the business? Those are some of the fundamental questions that you need to understand. And the third and the last part is, that's one of the most important one. The AI wave is here to stay, right? Now you will hear all sorts of stories that this AI wave, the fifth version, may not be as good as the fourth version. But that discussion aside, it is going to completely change the way you know marketing today, right? Think about it. I mean, for the older guys, 20 years back, right? When the washing machines came in, did you stop washing the clothes? No, right? Did you go back to that hand washing? No. You smartly used washing machine to ensure that you get the best output. Think about it in that manner. This is almost like the way internet changed your life, the way mobile changed your life, the way cloud changed the life of so many companies, right? Think about it in that manner. This is not some stuff by Meta or some such stuff, like 3D or AR or VR, which got
Correct.
dissipated even before it became a mainstream stuff. This is mainstream. This is here and now, and it is changing lives of marketers. If you are embracing it, you will actually find a lot of success. If you're still standing as a bystander, my strong suggestion is go embrace this technology. And once you do that within the company, that's when you see a lot of value. So those are three main points to kind of kickstart this discussion, uh, Mahesh.
you you said a very I mean, I always believe that every decade there is something which came and which changed and which became the way of life. Computer, nobody thought computer became a way of life. Internet, people made a big buzzword about internet. Oh, it's going to change everything. Now it's a way of life. I think so. 5 years down the line or 10 years down the line, when we look back, we're going to say, oh, AI is a way of life. It's here. It's going to be there. It's going to be part of different business and individual personal business requirements. So AI is going to here to stay. That's what I feel, because it's a way of life. It's the future I see. So, Hari, from your perspective, what do you think?
Um Mahesh, I come from a very different thought process when it comes to AI. First thing is, I'm happy that everybody wants to use AI. They want to do a lot of things about it and things like that. But again, as Shashwat mentioned, the underlying point is, what is the problem I'm trying to solve and how I can effectively solve. So, I'll take two examples. One, the washing machine, what Shashwat has mentioned. Today we use washing machine. Instead of sitting down and manually washing the clothes, we use the washing machine and then go ahead, still go and dry them in the sun, because the dryer might spoil the clothes, right? In few instances, if it's an urgent day and I need some clothes, if it's raining, then I might just use the dryer, because I really don't want to use the dryer. The second aspect is one other key point: the jobs going away. People are thinking, oh, AI is going to take the jobs away and things like that. if you go just 15, 20 years ago, where most of us started our careers, um, we were writing C program on a DOS mode prompt and C++ visuals, the C++ in that, a client what we used to have. But when Microsoft brought in Visual C++, Visual Basic and everything, what happened was the moment you write a syntax and put a dot, it used to give the options for you to do it. That's the only thing which changed. So when you're coding, if you have forgotten the actual variable or the parameter what you need to use, it's sort of a reminder, right? Nothing changed out of it. People continue to program. But with AI, what's happening is, in a broader sense, there is a lot of learning which happened in the last 20 years with the systems, and people started collating data. For example, Google shows you ads based on your preferences. How? Because it is tracking what you're searching and what you're not searching. So all I feel right now, they have all become public. All these days, we didn't know the science, what was happening behind Google or Apple or anybody you take for advertising, but now it became public. It is a way of life, but it is a lot different from automation or any of the examples what I just talked about. It has its more human intelligence imbibed into it, and not all models have it, right? There is a lot of learning going back and forth for the human-like thinking coming in. Over a period of time, I know I might be making a big statement, or I don't want anybody to feel that I'm making any huge statements, but over a period of time, the next phase would be the AGI phase, where it becomes more integrated. So that happens because it is learning a lot more about things we do today. Tomorrow's AI will be more of what Mahesh is doing and what Shashwat is doing, what Ari is doing. It'll be more personalized. That's when the huge impact will come. But otherwise, today, I think if used appropriately, AI can address a lot of practical, meaningful problems. I'll give you one example. There is a lot of shortage of staff in healthcare workers in Europe and UK. So that's where you see a lot of Indian nurses and doctors going. They still go. And Japan has an aging population. And India today has jumped up the average human life of up to 78. In the next 5 years, we will be at 80, 85 minimum, right? So in our lifetime, I think we will see 100 average life expectancy. Now, to manage that, what is happening is AI is helping to create robots or process flow automations, which will take care of your health proactively than you. Today, an Apple Watch or a Whoop or something will just tell you what's happening with your body. But AI will bring in that thing, dude. Today, you're feeling this way, so go ahead and run for 5 kilometers. Your this thing cholesterol level might come down, or you. So it becomes more proactive, more personal. So I don't think anybody should worry, but we should understand what it is and then adopt it into our problem solution.
Wow, that's quite detailed. I'm sure people who are
Umesh,
watching
if I
this.
can add one other thing
Sure.
to this, and it's a bit of a nuance that everyone should understand, and that's the nuance is that if you actually look at, say, internet, right? It took about 10, 15 years to become mainstream, right?
Yeah.
Compare it with GPT. In 2 years, it is at a stage where you are actually looking at Gartner is already looking at that cliff where it is now going to come down. Right? So that's a fast. I mean, you don't have the luxury of 15 years to figure out how to incorporate it in your life. It is like here and now, and this is one very important aspect. So now, if Gardner is saying that this is what will happen, and this entire GPT will become a commoditized thing, then the knowledge layer becomes far more important, and that is the thing which most of the organization should focus upon. So I thought I'll just add this nuance because
Absolutely.
it's very important when the exos are thinking about it.
Absolutely, absolutely. It does make sense because, see, today we are talking specifically. Let's go back to our topic where we are looking at AI and sales and marketing. Now, most of the uh, CMOs or CROs who are evaluating technologies to be implemented for their marketing and sales team. They are looking at different aspects. I remember 3 years, 2 years back, I was managing a sales team, and we were told that there is a tool which is going to analyze the calls of the customer and the sales, and it will give you the entire behavior pattern of a customer, whether the customer is in the buying mode or whether the customer is really. So the entire conversation is analyzed using an AI. I don't remember the name. It was Chorus, I think so. So we were told that it gives completely. Now, similarly, I'm sure Saraswat, in from the marketing perspective, there are a lot of tools now. Most CMOs would want to implement if they are a startup. So let's look at two business domain. If I'm a founder who's at a soft spot of 0 to 1 million or 0 to 10 million, do I need to invest in heavy AI technologies to start off with? And then maybe we can go to the second aspect of people who are above, $20 million revenue. They are looking at investing in AI technology. How do that differ?
So let's take the smaller one first.
Yeah,
In that scenario, the most important aspect would be if you are still say 0 to 1 or 1 to say 5 million
yeah,
or thereabouts,
yeah.
the founder-led brand is very, very important, right?
Right,
So in that scenario, all your business or most of your business is coming from the founder himself through his or her contacts, and through the voice of founder, the voice of company is getting formed, right? So you need to kind of ensure that whatever your marketing team is creating, that carries the founder voice. And if you can actually have tools to kind of replicate the founder voice into the multiple collaterals, then that would be really awesome. The second thing that you need to keep in mind is whatever the founder is kind of talking about, how is it received? Because you need to form a broad narrative and then have tools to figure out which of those pillars in the narrative is resonating with the audience, and try and double down on it, right? So those kind of tools become very important. Whereas when you're at a slightly, say, 5 million plus level, that's when I have normally seen that the companies start getting lateral hires, right? And which means that you will have folks who are joining in from different companies. They will bring in their relationship. They will bring in their processes. So, how do you ensure that you have your own values, you have your own processes? It doesn't get polluted because that has been working for long, right? And you want to maintain the sanctity of that. So, try and figure out the tools around it. And the last thing that you need at this point of time for those 5 million plus folks, or maybe even 3 million plus folks, is how do you improve your top of line funnel, right? If you
correct.
have more conversation, if you have more demos, you will have better conversion. Of course, the caveat is that you already have the product in an MVP. If the market is not accepting your product, then obviously you have a different problem to solve. So that's how you should try and approach it. Does that answer your question, Mahesh?
Yes, more or less. I also wanted to double click with you, Shashwat. Probably Hari can also pitch in here. Is what are the tools? For example, if I'm a marketing team, I have a small marketing team. I'm in 0 to 1 or 1 to 5, and I have a small marketing team, and I want to buy some new AI uh, tools which will enable my marketing team to run it efficiently. Do you have any suggestions? Similarly, for a matured business, I would say I would want to call it here in matured business, which is about 10 to $15 million, which is more streamlined. What kind of AI tools they will you would suggest in sales and marketing? And Hari, you can click in from a CTO perspective. Do you suggest investing in technology specifically, because end of the day implementation of the technology backend and all CTO will be responsible. So do you think the cost also is one factor, where if you're a 0 to 1 or 1 to 10, and if you want to buy a AI tool which will cost you, let's say, $200,000 a year, is it the right time to invest? So I mean, I've broken this into three parts. As well, one is, what are the tools you think will be required, or required, is it required? And second is cost perspective. Does it make viable sense to invest in a tool or a technology right now?
Uh, my simple answer is don't go after tools. First, figure out what is the problem, right?
Yeah,
Then try
correct.
and do some smaller experiments to figure out how can you solve that problem, right?
Right.
As a CMO, you know what is the problem statement. Now, unfortunately, in India as well as in the APAC region, or even in the US, the life of a CMO is very short, right? About 18
Yeah,
months or thereabouts. So
correct.
you are not allowed to do a lot of experiments. And that is where you need to get in the fractional guys who
Right.
can do the experiment, and it's almost like a build, operate, and transfer to you, right? So you dictate that this is the problem statement, you solve it how you want to solve it, because as a fractional guy, the guy is not a consultant, right? It's not some gyan that will be given and which will remain as a gyan. The difference between an advisor or a consultant and a fractional is very, very important. The fractional will
Correct.
have more skin in the game. If you
Right.
have more skin in the game, then you can define that this is the outcome that I want from this problem statement. And if then the fractional guy decides that these are the combination of tools which you need, and that is where a fractional CTO comes in handy, where you try and define that these are the 3 or 4 things which can solve the problem, because the problem solving is much more important than what fancy tool you are using. So that's how I would approach it. Not sure whether that answered your question, but I mean,
Yeah,
Hari, if
yeah. I
you
mean,
want.
I like the way you mentioned, you know, since you're bootstrap most of the time when you're in 0 to 1 or 1 to 10, your your cost is definitely there. You are already, and I like the perspective of using a fractional CMO, CRO, and a CTO in these spaces where they will be coming in. They will come and they are like surgeons. They'll come solve the problem for you, get it resolved, and then go to the next gig. But I completely buy your point. It's just that if I, as a founder, and I feel that I need technology to be built in. I know we did mention that technology at this point of time is not the main focus. Get your business act in place. Let's say your business act is in place. So what is the next step for that? Where does the founder move from there? He has hired a fractional CMO. He's doing his job. He's getting everything in place. Now, as a fractional CMO and as a fractional CTO, what are your suggestions? I hope that made sense.
Absolutely. So I take
No,
a different approach. I
yes.
mean, similar to what Shashwat mentioned, Mahesh. Your problem, your ideal customer profile are very important, right? Point number one. In terms of using tools, I am nobody to comment on somebody who can go and subscribe to IBM Watson. Okay.
Hmm.
So I'm not getting into that category at all.
Right.
Those are the guys in the $1 million games, right?
Correct. Correct.
I have my own product company, and predominantly I talk to founders and small startup guys and everything. I would say identify tools what you require for your sales and marketing, content writing, whatever. And predominantly, these tools are also coming with the AI in them. Start with it. They will help you get your clients, right?
Hmm.
Let the revenue keep coming in, and then start building on what kind of AI, and then bring in people like, I mean, I don't want to brag about it or market myself, but bring in people who understand, who can bridge the gap between your problem solution to AI and how we can enhance it. Until, as a founder, you have tested results. For instance, let's say Canva does a lot of things today, right? Now you use it for creating posters, advertisements, blah, blah, blah. Notebook LM can create your script for your content writing marketing. And one thing biggest it does is it'll also, if, for example, let's say Shashwat is writing an article on how to use AI on in your sales and marketing team. And he starts writing and he keeps referring to tools and everything in his article. What Notebook LM will do is go and find the source of those tools, and what if Shashwat is actually talking the correct thing or not. So as an author, it's already correcting you, right? Use that. Don't spend a lot of money. And I did a poll on my LinkedIn quite some time back. How many of you use the following tools? ChatGPT free, ChatGPT paid, Claude paid, Claude free. And predominantly, I mean, I think 49% of the people not for are paying for either of the tools, and remaining 51 are not paying, right? And there is also, I wish, I'm sure somebody will come up with the idea and design a platform or a tool saying, how can you talk to ChatGPT to get your work done? So it's practice, it is not this thing. So as startup founders, your problem, solution, ISP, and what is your best, whatever your fractional CMO or your marketing guy has designed the process, check with the chat GPT or Claude or Abacus, anybody you want to check with, and use the tools which you're already using. Don't go on heavy investments to do get the best out of it. If the product and there is no product market fit, you subscribe to IBM Watson also, you will not make money out of it. You're only losing money. So again, comes back to the basics. Focus on your product market fit.
Okay. Excellent. Shashwat,
Correct.
any
I mean,
additional?
just yeah. So two more aspects that you can think about, especially if you are in that 5 to 10 kind of domain or slightly more. Um, so the first one would be that you are thinking about the content part, right? So content to actually ensure that you are enhancing the brand and the brand narrative is in place and stuff like that. So most of the marketing teams are fairly good at that aspect, right? You don't need an AI for it. It's just that you want to ensure that the narrative is good, the narrative is getting picked by Google. That is the aspect where you need the AI, or something like whether the what part of the content is consumed well and what part is not getting consumed, and there you can have a bunch of tools to give you that whether you like the hotjar kind of stuff or you like the keyword type of stuff, you can figure out all of that, right? So that's on the content part, and that's an important. But the second very important aspect, and that is where most marketing teams lack, is that Now you have created this beautiful looking content, a beautiful document, a nice looking white paper. What the hell do you do with it? If nobody reads it, what is the point of creating it? Right?
Correct.
So the distribution, and once you distribute, how are you getting leads on top of it? That becomes very important, and that is where most of the marketers lack in terms of the skill set. This is where AI will play a huge role, in my opinion. And you can further break it down that if this is the problem statement that you're solving, then what is it that you need? You either need an inbound engine or an outbound engine. Now, inbound engine, your content can be there, and there are multiple tools which you have been historically using, and that of course you can enhance. Now somebody can question that tomorrow if Google is not there and it's replaced by Perplexity, that's a theoretical question. You don't need to think about it today, right? But what you need to think about today is the outbound aspect. Now, in
Correct.
outbound, that is where bulk of the problem is, and that is where most CROs, most founders want a lot of help. Now, how do you approach this aspect? I'm sure, Mahesh, maybe we can take a pause and see if you also, as a CRO, you have seen this as a big problem across organization, and then we come to what are the solutions that you can look for.
Correct. I think so. You touched upon something about the outbound, and I resonated very well because recently I was talking to a company which is building, and I mean, I'm helping them with their go to market and product market fit. They're building an AI SDR. That's what they call it. Now, what is an AI SDR? AI SDR is basically an automated uh, calling, outbound calling, which calls the customer, takes all the information just like an SDR, but and it looks very natural is what they are saying. But we know if Siri calls you or Alexa calls you, you'll know it's a Siri or an Alexa because there is a gap, there is a lag, when somebody is when a AI is having a conversation. So I told them, for me, I've been in sales for more than 2.5 decades. And I know that if you're going to get an AI to call a customer, the customer can immediately identify that it's an AI call, and he's going to hang up and he's not going to continue. So I feel your narrative needs to change. Your narrative needs to be an enabler. You're not an AI SDR, you're an enabler. So what your AI SDR is going to do is going to make the call, get all the information, and then create a flow where there is an email follow-up, then there is a follow-up to ensure that there is a meeting set up so that the actual SDR and an account executive can actually go ahead and take the call. So this is my take. I feel um, we are getting, I mean, you did touch it upon in the initial stage. We are forgetting the messaging aspect of marketing and sales in all this AI jamla where we talk about AI, but we are forgetting the messaging aspect, which is critical. And we are forgetting that there is a narrative which a sales and a marketing team needs to build to sell the product. If you have a product, you need to create that. AI is going to be an enabler. It's a tool. It's not it's not going to be running your division. It's not, AI is not going to manage your sales and marketing. AI is a tool just like we used to use SAP and Salesforce for our different
Or
aspects of our
Excel for
business.
that matter.
Exactly.
Excel
Correct.
for that matter. Excel does not run your
Exactly.
business, right? Even though you
Yes.
do all your modeling around it.
Correct. 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 I want to ask you, Shashwat, on hyper personalization. People are talking. I mean, I see this conversation going on and on about hyper personalization and how AI is changing everything in terms of hyper personalization. As a fractional CMO, I know that you work with a lot of AI companies now. You're helping them build their GTM and product market fit and all that. So, where does this hyper personalization fit in, and what role does AI play in it? Does it play any role?
So I am of the bullish camp, very bullish about this. And this is the problem statement which nobody could solve earlier, right? And let me tell you why am I so bullish about it. It's almost like I feel that I have, of course, white hair aside, it feels that I've actually now come back to my teens, and I mean, I'm again I've become that explorer, and AI has actually kind of given me that vigor and all of it. Now, let me tell you why this was a big problem for marketers today. And assume for a moment that you have not implemented AI in your organization. Now you have created this beautiful white paper. You have created a whole lot of nice looking creatives and very nice messaging. And I'm assuming that messaging is resonating with your ICP. Where do you find this ICP, right? So historically, what used to happen was that you actually had a list, and you don't even know whether the guy is alive or dead or moved from one organization to another, or what are his or her current preferences. None of that is known, right? That's how typically we were operating in marketing. It's almost like shooting in the dark, right? And just
Correct.
hoping and praying that it just hits a bullseye and you suddenly become a hero out of it. It doesn't happen that it should not happen that way. So that is where AI actually first makes a change. That if I
Right.
have to do a campaign today of all the marketing heads in US with a 5 million kind of a revenue, with 200 employee base or thereabouts, today I can actually create a database around it, figure out whether they have a CMO, they don't have a CMO, and then run a campaign as per that, right? That's the first very basic thing that you can do. But
Yeah.
since it is AI, life does not stop at basics, right? So
Yeah.
then what you can do is you can, on top of this, you can actually enrich a lot of things. Now, what will you enrich? There are stuff on company that you want to know more about, right? Today what is happening is, if you are an outbound guy or a sales guy, you actually go to the LinkedIn and try and figure out, or you go to the website and try and figure out. Now, is
Correct.
that
Correct.
scalable? Definitely not, right? You can do it for one or two large accounts, you can do it for the low hanging fruits, not for each
Correct.
and everyone. So that
Correct.
is where the personalization happens. Then
Okay.
what is the context of that person? That is the third level of personalization. And once you mix all of this and then create a campaign, which essentially means that you are, suppose if there are about 500 guys that you are sending, and typically in your buying cycle, if you're sending it to a company of mid-market or enterprise, you will have at least 8 to 10 guys, right? So 5,000 is the number of contacts that you are making, 500 into 10. And then if
Mm-hmm.
you're sending 10 different emails or touch points, then imagine the number of things that you have to do. That
Correct.
mass personalization is today possible using AI. So that's the
Correct.
big difference. And the whole idea is that if I am talking to you as Mahesh, how's the weather in Hyderabad, you might not respond to it, right? But if I actually come double down and say, Hari, how is Navaka solving this particular problem, and is it very important to you? Then you will definitely respond, or even if that means that you'll say, no, this is not a problem for Navaka, that's fine. But at least you will get that response. So that's the big difference which AI is bringing on the mass personalizations here.
Brilliant. Hari, your
Long
thoughts?
answer, but
Yeah, no, that's perfect. I mean, we want people to know more about it. That's why we are doing this, so that we don't need to hold anything. We just need to be sharing everything. So I love it. I love it, Shashwat.
So one of the most, I mean, for me, as a concept and where I feel it really helps. I mean, today Amazon and everybody are already using hyper personalization, right? For me, where it makes the cut is customizing your message at that point of time, right? That's the most important. Otherwise, it becomes very generic. So this will help in predominantly enabling you to have a conversation with your ideal customer, and on the spot change the answers based on what he's looking for or what he's in a mood for, right? I mean, I don't know if anybody noticed 1 year ago, if you remember browsing Amazon app or Amazon site, the recommendations were totally different than what recommendations you're seeing today. I don't know if anybody has noticed that or not. They're getting a little bit more personalized. Earlier, it used to be generic, right? And that's how they used to get, because you bought this shirt. I mean, also people are buying this shirt, right? But now it is going and giving you options of customized shirt with your company logo. It's getting a little bit more in the kind of things you are searching for on
Correct.
Amazon, right? That becomes very important for founders because it will help you message. I might mess up my messaging many a times, and I'll be honest about it, because I will put Mahesh and Shashwat both as my potential clients, but when I get to them, my messaging is totally different. One is talking about revenue, one is talking about marketing, but I have a SaaS platform offering both. How do I don't want Mahesh to be thinking, oh, this guy is doing too many things, probably he's not my guy. But rather, if my messaging changes completely, you know what, I'm a revenue ops SaaS platform. Okay, let me get deeper, and you dig deeper. So that personalized messaging will be a game changer for, especially for founders.
Brilliant, brilliant. Uh, uh, both of you are fractional executives, and I would love to dig, double click and see, pick up some case studies, Shashwat, from your side, whom you worked with some customers, where you have been able to help them uh, in their journey of implementing their GTM or product market fit, and where did AI play any role, or is there? I mean, I don't want to just use AI as a word. Has it been used? If not, without AI, how you have been successfully able to create that journey? Similarly for you, Hari, from the fractional CTO
I'll
perspective,
give you.
probably share that.
Sure, Hari, you want to go first?
Yeah,
Sure,
yeah,
good.
I know.
So I'll I'll give you one of the recent projects I'm looking at. So as I mentioned before in my introduction, I spent about 15 years, 16 years in health tech, and predominantly I spent time at Cerner. There are a couple of solutions which were not possible before AI. I'll give you a live instance. Uh, Patient and doctor communication predominantly used to be on laptop, right? You type it up and you have a template and you do it. Okay. And Sonar, Epics, I mean, I'm using these guys because they are the masters and the world's largest healthcare platform. So nobody can debate me on that. That's why I'm using those names and everyone would have heard. So when Cerner started 40, 50 years, almost 50 years now, 50 years ago, and Epic started about 25 years ago. These kind of things were not possible. So when you visit a doctor, if you are visiting from an Indian healthcare context, if you're visiting a physician, he will write it on his notepad and he will tear it and give it to you. And few people have a carbon paper so that they have a notes for it. Then computers came in. Doctors started writing it on Word document and Excel document. Then slowly you had softwares which were capturing doctor notes with a template. Now, what AI has done is taken away all these things. Now, I'm conversing with Mahesh and Shashwat as a doctor, the platform is understanding the language you're talking. It'll relate to the ailment you're talking, precautionary measures, proactive measures, everything. It'll generate the patient doctor notes and sends a copy to the patient and keeps the copy in the patient's file in the hospital, right? So this is something, because you say, I mean, there's a classic example, because this was just not possible just few years ago, but now doctor has a lot more time. And these kind of solutions, specifically in countries like India, where the doctor patient ratio is a little less when compared to global averages, this will become a game changer. So doctor is not spending a lot of time writing, and when they're writing also, they miss most of the time. I mean, there is a famous quote: you never understand doctor's handwriting, right? So only the pharmacist understands, and they understand, we can never read. Now that goes away. So I'm working with a couple of products which are looking at, and they're incorporating large language models. And one, why this also is a game changer for a country like India, minimum, any person in India can speak two languages: English, Hindi, English, Kannada, English, Telugu, English, Tamil, whatever. When you incorporate these large language models, now it can, Mahesh and I can talk in Hindi, Telugu, Kannada, English as a conversation. It still captures the essence of the entire patient notes and gives it. And the moment Mahesh leaves and Shashwat comes in, I start talking in Bengali, Hindi, Oriya, and Kannada, right? Supposedly, if I know all the languages, which I don't. So I talk, it still captures the essence, and my notes are still done. This was not possible a few years ago. This is how AI can better in terms of bringing solutions much more impactful, creating much more impactful solutions. So this is a recent project I'm working on.
Excellent, excellent. Shashwat, from your side.
So let me give you a very practical example that I'm doing right now. Currently, I'm actually running a cohort of 15 to 18 companies. And what we are doing is that for that cohort, and it's a mix of companies where you have the mid-size companies as well as larger companies. And in that, we are doing the mass personalization aspect, right? So at this point of time, almost 12 are, as we speak, 12 have already signed up. We will have some more, some conversations are going on. But what I'm planning to do is using this, and we have created our own, what we are right now, SaaS, as you know, it is not software as a service. It's now service as a software. So that's the concept that we are trying to bring in, where the human in the loop is already there, and we are using a couple of tools. We are not selling tools to anyone, but we are using a couple of tools to do the data enrichment, to create the messaging, to do the outreach, and then make it outcome-based service. So typically SaaS, there is nothing called outcome in SaaS, right? You have taken the software, then pray to God whether that works or not. But here we are also going to the extent that based on the outcome, the fee will be there. So this is a very unique concept that I'm doing with 15 to 18 folks in the cohort. And I plan to run this cohort every 2-3 months. This is a very small exercise of 3 to 6 months that I'm running. Now, all of this is because I also have AI at my disposal, right? This was not possible even a year back. A year back, if you actually had as a fractional person, even 4, 5, 6 clients, it would be a nightmare to just manage those guys, irrespective of the teams that you had, right? So now that has almost doubled. And the output is much, much better, because here it is the leads that we are guaranteeing. It is the conversation that we are guaranteeing, and everything is measurable. And nothing is in the air. Now, you don't have to, I mean, you can have a nice sleep in the night and expect that towards the end of the month, you will get so many leads. So that's a very interesting experiment that we are running, and where we have used multiple tools to get it and keep it up and running. Again,
Okay.
this is something very unique that I'm doing, and I thought I'll share it with all of you guys.
Brilliant, brilliant. In the interest of time, as we discussed, we will divide this webinar into two parts. We will do the other uh, live probably in a week's time. So before we, go to the next segment, one last word from both of you before we take questions from the audience. Any practical advice from both sides, from tech side, from marketing side, what anything for the audience before we take the audience question in terms of AI and sales? Maybe from marketing perspective, probably you could suggest, Shashwat, what does a founder needs to do? Similarly, from the implementation perspective, maybe Hari, you can suggest uh, what could be done to make it successful.
So, two important things. First, identify the problem. And
Correct.
second, and sorry for the shameless plug, but get a fractional person and solve that problem, and then take over that entire piece. This is very important. You see, as a founder, you cannot run so many experiments and then take the brunt of it. You need experts who can actually set it up for you, and then
Mm.
you incorporate it in the process. So those are the two very important ones. And sorry for the shameless plug, but I thought it's very, very important.
Very, very important. I agree with you. Absolutely. Hari, from
from a
your side.
from a technology perspective, again, I'll go back to the basics. Use the tools which are available to structure your solution to the problem what you've identified, and also use AI tools to understand the problem better, right? Start using it small. Don't get overwhelmed with people. Unfortunate thing is, the moment any social media you open, it's all about, everybody's talking about AI and everything. Don't get overwhelmed. Focus on the problem. Use the AI available to get to a certain stage. Then you will start understanding how to incorporate it much better.
Brilliant, brilliant. I'll give something from my side. I believe that if you're a founder and if you're a tech founder and you're building up a product and you want to have a right narrative with you, create a right messaging with you. Don't just because it's an AI product, just don't market it as an AI product. What problem, like Shashwat mentioned, what problem you're trying to solve? Maybe that's something
Correct.
which you need to do. And if you're a founder and you can't invest, definitely, I agree with Shashwat. We all believe that this shameless plug has to be there. Hire a fractional, whether it's a CMO, CRO, or a CTO, because they're gonna come and solve your problem. They are not gonna burn your deep pockets, and they're gonna help you scale up very faster. So with that, let's take the first question. I mean, either of you can answer this. Uh, in terms of privacy concerns, affecting the use of AI in marketing, especially with personalized ads. Shashwat, your and Hari's take on it.
So privacy is still an issue. It's a big issue, but I'm sure Hari can come into some of the newer technologies like RAG and others, which are trying to solve that. But at this point of time, yes, privacy is an issue, and hence any activity from the marketing point of view, anything which is not very core, try and use AI for it. If it is core, then have humans do it. Humans always do it better. That's how I would approach it.
Brilliant.
So privacy in terms of the data of my company data or whatever it is, all these tools are more when if you read their terms and conditions, if you want to use ChatGPT or Claude or Abacus, any tool you want to, in the terms and conditions they clearly mention, many a times we do use your information to enhance our services or the AI better. So when you're signing up them, be prepared that whatever you're conversing with the tool is being recorded and they will use it. So it's a choice you make in terms of this thing. Otherwise, you will have to build your own LLM and use it. Use the external resources for your internal work, and don't let your internal resources go out. So that
Okay.
challenge will always be there. But again, you can trust it. That's not a problem.
Brilliant. Authenticity is something which is a question which I also keep. I mean, it keeps when it comes to AI. So, what is the role of AI in improving the content creation process? How can marketers maintain authenticity? Because now you see all the post, everything is AI based. So, Shashwat, from your side, how do you uh, keep a trap on it?
So I can give you some 2 or 3 pro tips. The first one is intentionally do some mistakes. Obviously, human they normally do. So you don't have
Right.
to put in a perfect grammar and stuff like that. So that's one very basic pro tip. The
Uh,
second one that I would suggest is always keep human in the loop. Even
uh,
if it means that if you are doing a mass personalization exercise, at least 20% or 30%, you need to check randomly to figure out whether the tool is giving you junk or not. And again, one last pro tip: uh, the prompt needs to be prompt engineering is the key in it. If you give the right prompt, you will get a better output. If you give a generic prompt, then expect some random answers which you will not be able to correlate.
okay. Excellent.
Those are the
Um,
three.
Brilliant, brilliant. A couple of more questions. One is, how can small business start integrating, which we answered, I know, earlier, integrating AI into their marketing strategy without a big budget? I think so. We covered it. Maybe briefly, you want to share it again, maybe both of you. I know we covered it in the early part of our discussion.
So let me try and answer that. So in our case, we actually provide it as a service. So irrespective of the tools that is being used, you know that this is the service cost, this is the one-time cost, this is the service cost, and this is the outcome cost. So it is far more easier to manage, and depending on that cost, you obviously know that this is your budget and whether that cost is fitting or not, and the outcome is the stuff that you're expecting or not. So very simple in terms of the costing.
Okay, Hari, your few words on that.
I I would still say be frugal. Just use the tools what you're using. Many tools are coming with. I'm sure we're using a lot of tools today to build our product and services. They are coming with their inbuilt AI. Start using them. Once you get the traction, start incorporating more and more AI as it is required, but don't go the big bang approach.
Okay. One last question before we, how can business ensure they are not over relying on AI and still keep the human touch in their marketing efforts?
Reality check, revenue versus expenditure. That's about it.
That's a good one. That's a good one.
So that is what the founder is there for, right? That how much of AI and how much, I mean, that's a business call literally, that if you have an X amount to spend on marketing and you can only have so many people, then there is a finite stuff in terms of your resources, and the rest, obviously, you want AI to fulfill it. Whether it does it or not, that's a different question.
Brilliant, brilliant. That's a wrap. Thank you very much, both Hari and Shashwat. We're gonna catch up again probably in a week's time, or a week's time, where we're gonna go more than AI. We're gonna focus more on how fractional executives, both CMOs, CROs, and CTOs, are helping founders and startups scale up, and ensure that they are getting their GTM, product market fit, and of course get their technology in place. So thank you very much.
Thanks for having us, Mahesh.
Thanks, Mahesh. Thanks, Hari. Pleasure to be here.
Thanks.
Thank
Bye
you.
bye.
Bye bye.